So part of my background is actually in Ashtanga yoga. I practiced Ashtanga yoga for 22 years. If you're familiar with it, I am one of the very, very few who finished fourth series. I taught yoga for about 10 years. And there's kind of like this unspoken understanding about beginners, that they're not very flexible. The thing is, I don't even really mean that physically. The beginner mind is very rigid. And the beginner mind is always looking for parameters and for rules. They want to know where to stand. They want to know how far they can lean, where the boundaries are, where the lines are. They really just want to make sure that they are where they are supposed to be. And the thing about the beginner mind is they tend to hold to extremes. So like in the yoga community, there's a lot of people that are like, no, you absolutely must be vegan or you must be vegetarian. Like it's very black and white. And you have to practice 6 days a week and you have to do this or you're wrong or you're bad. And we can psychologically dive into where all of that comes from, because we see that, like, obviously in religion too and other places. But see, as you continue to practice, if you do the mind stuff, like, sure, hopefully your body will become more agile, right? It'll become better at yielding and surrendering and just bending in general. And it'll become stronger where it is weak and open where it was tight and all that good stuff. But really the whole point is to have that flexibility of the mind. And I see oftentimes when someone is integrating something new in their life, it could be, just a new practice, a new hobby, a new job, a new diet, and the default is to go to the extremes. It's like it's all one way or all the other way. And I used to get kind of annoyed by this. I was like, why do people have to go to extremes? This is so frustrating. And then of course as a teacher, I got to dive in from a different perspective, and therefore more empathy kicked in. But see, the thing is, the reason people go to extremes is because that's how they find balance. Balance is almost impossible to find without knowing the parameters, without knowing how far you can go on either side. And you see this also in life a lot, where like people who, let's say they were religious, they went their whole life really religious. Let's say they got married at 20 and they just played by the rules the whole time, and now they're 40. They lived on one end of the spectrum the whole time. Do you really think that is sustainable? Because balance and equilibrium is something that we define, but it's based upon our experiences of those extremes, right? Like, that like maybe water fasting is incredible for 30 days, but if you were to do it for a lifetime, it wouldn't work very well, right? But people, they get hung up on something that they experience one time or two times or for a short period, and they don't understand why it doesn't work all the time. And this is where balance and harmony comes into play, and finding your own equilibrium. And you see this a lot with people in dieting. It's like, oh, I had a cookie. Well, let me just blow the rest of my week. Why would you blow the rest of your week? Like, why does your diet have to be so restrictive anyway? One thing I would teach clients who struggled with extremes and with binging, I would say, if you're afraid of cheating, then plan for it. Because if you plan for it, you do it with intention, you can make a whole event out of it, celebrate it, and not feel guilty the next day because you planned for it. But if you do it like, oh, I totally, like if you do it out of resistance, like if you're pushing yourself to stay in this position and you fall off the bandwagon, well, now you hate yourself. There's shame. And shame is really ugly, and it's really hard to have a healthy, sustainable habit of any kind when we're chronically trying to navigate shame, because that creates polarity. Again, going to the extremes. So my question to you would be, what is going on in your life that you're not giving yourself permission to fall off? Did you ever see Eat, Pray, Love? And she goes to the guru in Indonesia, and at the end of the movie, and she was like, she wants to make him proud, and he's like, well, how's the boyfriend? And she's like, I ended it. And he's like, why? And she goes, because I couldn't keep my balance. And he goes, Liz, falling off balance is part of living a balanced life. And it makes me sad because I oftentimes, like, it could be anything, whether you're trying to build a business, whether you're trying to lose weight, like, I see this often. I saw it constantly in the yoga practice, where it's like, you feel like you have to do it perfectly all the time, or you're failing and then you're just going to give up. But it doesn't work that way. Like, when I'm trying to lean out, like, if I'm tired of, like, just going without, I will fucking cheat with intention. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to order pizza tomorrow night. I can't wait. And then the next day I'm going to go back. You do it with intention, and you do it because you know that you need that stabilizer to bring you back to some sort of balance. You were going too far off the edge. Therefore, this thing kind of needed to happen. But what if you integrated that thing in on a regular basis so you could maintain long-term sustainability, consistency, discipline? Like, that was one of the biggest things we had to deal with in yoga, and the biggest confronting factors of having a daily yoga practice was facing things like this. Because every day your practice was not going to deliver the same fucking result. And you better believe people just couldn't stand this. They wanted to be just as strong and just as flexible on Friday as they were on Thursday. And you know what? Like, it doesn't work that way. Oh, I could do a whole series on just, like, lessons learned from the mat. So if you are looking to create something, I don't care what it is, a big business, a healthy relationship, losing weight, like, I don't care what it is. Long-term, sustainable, consistent input absolutely requires falling off balance now and then. Absolutely. And, like, I hope that resonates with you, because, again, otherwise you're just stuck going to the extremes and punishing yourself. And the advanced individual, the person who understands any sort of mastery, doesn't live in the extremes. They understand nuance. They understand balance. Right? There's a reason why the new parent is so rigid, whereas, like, grandma can watch the toddler fall and laugh and just pick the baby up, and, you know what I mean? It's like there's a reason for that. There's a reason why there is an ease to a mind that has learned grace, that has learned to fall and step back up and do it in a way that is healthy and nurturing and gives permission to learning along the way. I can't imagine going my whole life without buttercream frosting. It's just not going to happen. I don't care how much I like the carnivore diet. I'm not going without buttercream frosting. So you better believe on days where I cheat, I'm getting a cupcake with that buttercream frosting. So anyway, my name is Paige. For more mindfulness, like, share, follow,